Hey guys, today we're going to do a realistic tutorial and we've picked this rose to do. So a nice rose, realistic. I'm going to run through start to finish how I'm going to tattoo this. So we've got it up on the computer here and I'm using now a program called GIMP, which I kind of prefer more than Photoshop at the moment just because it has a few more different filters for the stencil. So I'm going to turn this picture into a stencil just right now. So you can see here it comes out really nice on the stencil and it just gives me like a few more shades as well. So once I get this how I want it, and I think it's just like messing around with a few of these bars until you get it how you want as well. There we are, that looks pretty good. Right, so once we have the picture how we want it on here, so I've used the photocopy filter and I've got it to how I want it, and it is just a bit of trial and error using the different tools, but yeah, once you're happy with it how you want, you flip it the opposite way around, and that's just so it prints on the computer the correct way around. I don't know why, but then printers seem to print and flip it at the same time. So I'm going to prepare this here. So if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll have seen that I used this stencil printer off Paul Porter. And if you search his name, Paul Porter, on Facebook, and that's what they're called, and they are the perfect printers for printing out your stencils. I've had them since the start of when I used one, and it is the only stencil printers that I'll use now. He has a Facebook page that he adds you into and runs through it all with you, so you don't have to worry. And yeah, they're all the same prices everywhere else, so I don't know why you would just use the best one, which is this. So once we've got that loaded in, we'll print that through. And yeah, it is just potluck anyway, so we'll see how the first one prints and then we'll go from there, and we can even darken it and stuff like that. But I keep cleaning the printer and then it gives me a better print like by an absolute mile, so I just need to keep on top of that. This one's looking a little bit light, to be honest. Let's see how this is. No, it's not far off. I'll maybe go just one darker and then I'll be happy. Right, perfect. So now the stencil's all done. Today we're actually going to be tattooing it on real skin and not the fake skin like normal. So that's quite exciting and cool. So I've already shaved the arm and where it's going. So now I'm just giving it a clean. And we have sized up the stencil quite a bit. We tried it on a couple of times and it just looked better like that. So I'm just going to put a bit of stencil stuff on. I always like having a couple of layers of this. It seems to stick a hell of a lot better with a couple of layers rather than just one. And I like just using stencil stuff, that product, to stick it on. I've tried quite a lot of them, but that seems to be one of the best ones. So the stencil's really important on stuff like this. It needs to have a nice coat all over for the stencil to be accurate. Otherwise, if you have a tiny bit too much in one place, it'll come out blurry. So let's have a go at that. Now, as you can see there, that is absolutely bang on for a stencil. So what we're going to do, we're going to let that dry for 5-10 minutes and then we're going to crack on. Right, this is my setup. So today I'm using, as always, this Dragonhawk mast. They sent me this like a year ago and I've bought a couple of them since. So they're really good. I wasn't expecting them to be that great when I got the review, but I thought, honest reviews, and then yeah, they've been really great. The battery lasts a long time, so now I'm using them full time. They're just really handy and easy to use. Green soap, just normal green soap, and petroleum jelly, and that razor's from before. But yeah, the grey wash that I'm using, that'll be coming out soon with dynamic ink. That's the only ink that I've used ever. It's brilliant. So that's just normal dynamic black on the left. The new dynamic union black, which will probably be out when this video's out, that I've been using for a while now. And the grey wash that I have been making grey over time and getting it to be perfect, which now I feel like it is, but that'll be available soon. And that's extra dark, dark, medium, light and extra light. So yeah, that's what I'm using as my setup today, but I'll talk more about it when I'm doing the tattoo and what I'm using. Let's go. Right, let's make a start. These are the needles that I'm using. Killer Ink Stella needles. And to start with, I'm going to be on the liner, 5 round liner. So I've got a 5 round liner, 14 round shader, and then a couple of different mags, just normal standard mags. I've got a 15 and a 17. And we're on 7 volts here. And I'll be using 7 volts with all the needles. There isn't much variation unless it's not going in or something else, but mainly 7 volts. And I'm going to start with the black, and I'm going to mark in like in previous videos, when I'm using the fake skin, I'm going to mark in some bits, and then where I can, where is solid black, I'll put it in solid black with the lines. Now because it's on real skin, I want it to be solid and there over time. So wherever I can get black and make it really prominent, I will. Then it lasts over time. Like, you could easily make this too light, especially up here on the rose, in areas where it would just fade away. So trying to get them edges and sharp bits in to make it stand out is what I'm aiming for. How's that? Is that okay?
Yeah. Fine.
So what I don't want with this is bits that are darker than what they are on the photo. I don't mind bits being lighter because I can always build it up to being how I want it, but definitely not darker. So if there's some areas where I'm not as confident to begin with, I'll keep it more on the light side, and then I can always sharpen it up as I go along. So what I mean by the black and which bits are solid when I'm lining, so if there's some lighter areas like this left side of the stem, which I've got the reference picture next to me really close, that I do with every tattoo, then I can see side by side that this side is really dark and this side's really light. So on this side I'm literally just scraping the top, like the surface of the skin, so it's just skimming it. Any tiny touch of the skin will leave a mark. I am using just black for it all, but just really lightly. Then this side is completely different. Because it is black and I'm wanting a hard edge, it's just that tiny bit more deeper and a solid line. Now not too deep either, that I don't want the line to be like thick or anything like that, just a lot more solid. Because as I come to put shades in it, it'll build up and be at that line anyways. But that's what I mean, the difference between the lines. And like now, this bit's solid, but then it blends up to being lighter. So I'm kind of just marking it in, skimming it on the surface. I'm going to get all this bit lined in and then I'll reconvene when I'm up to like some important parts or any changes. Right, now that we have the lines and markings where we want them, I'm going to move on to the round shader. And I guess I always just do what I can with that needle as I do it. So I'm probably going to do little bits of the stem, little bits on the leaves, and then a lot of that will be with the round shader, but maybe not quite yet. I might concentrate more on here, and then my main focus is to keep that stencil at the top good while I'm doing the leaves, I suppose. So just solid black, and if I can get all the black bits where I want them and keep the details, that's my goal. What I'd always say when you're using the round shader and doing something with realism like this is don't worry about getting it solid black straight away on the first pass. The main thing for me is building it up and getting it accurate. And the purple's very dark as well, so yeah, the main thing is not overworking. I'll use the round shader where I can, but then for the bits that I want to come back over, I might use a mag and then maybe even a liner just to tighten bits up. But for me, my goal is to try and like build on the skin with different shades. So I feel like the better that you get at doing black and grey tattoos, the more you can build the layers on the skin. And that's the same with the lines as well. So like when you first start out, it'd be hard to even use a round shader because it'd feel like a liner. So you could easily overwork the skin. And I've practiced with these so much over time that I can build layers and layers. I could probably do a whole portrait with the round shader. So like not just a mag. You see a lot of top artists using a round shader for a lot of the tattoos. And I feel like that's a big trick to doing nice detailed stuff rather than just smooth. And if I'm thinking about it, and my tips for using these needles right would be to start out more cross hatching, so across one way, back the other way, and not burying it too much. Would be just more cross hatching and wipe and see what's there rather than just like putting it in the skin and rubbing it around. So you want to cross hatch it. The needles are so sharp and they do what they're doing. You don't need to push them in. I do actually think these needles are really good as well, these Stella needles. For black and grey, I mean, all the different needle types like Quadron and Xi'an and these, I feel like these needles, they're all the cheaper ones, but for black and grey, they're perfect. The needles don't feel as sharp. They're kind of like a good all-arounder. Whereas for me, if I used some more expensive ones like Quadron, for me personally they'd be too sharp to do this kind of style, like more fine line. So yeah, I feel like these are a good all-round needle. And like, I'm just buying these like anyone else. They're just my preference. I don't really do sponsorships or anything like that. Well, not at the moment. If anyone wants to send me some free shit, go ahead, but I really couldn't care for stuff like that. I don't feel like it's worth it. So when I'm putting the black in on bits like this, on the leaf that'll blend out, I'm already doing it to blend out. Even though I'm like colouring solid areas of black, I'm kind of flicking it up. Then there's no sudden stops, because that'd make it really hard to blend in. And like on something realism like the leaf, there isn't going to be a sudden stop. It's all blends everywhere. And that's one thing I've noticed at the moment and trying to work on more and more, is having no sudden edges in the black. It all blends. Like the more, like if you looked at a photograph, there wouldn't be like a black and then a stop. It's all blends. So that's what I'm trying to do more and more. But I feel like it's such a hard thing to get your head around with the tattooing, because you kind of want it to be prominent and stay and hold well as a long tattoo, rather than like look good and then a year later it looks shit. You want it to look good over time. So it's always a constant battle of like, I want it lighter, I want it darker, I want it softer. So yeah, that's the thing with tattooing. The more you learn, the more there is to learn. It's really frustrating. So I'm going to go ahead and map just carry on and map black bits in. But that's kind of all my techniques on the black, so I'm going to run through that and then resume when I'm a bit more ahead. Right, so we're using a mag now with the solid black, and then kind of similar thing to what I've been doing with the round shader. where I'm kind of finishing off what I was doing with the round shader, but just with bigger areas, so getting the big smooth bits of black in. But I've got the mag out, and the needles are out like a couple of mil. You won't really be able to see there, but that's just depending on the person and on the skin. You kind of just have to adjust it until it's going in perfect. And then same again, I'm going to just cross hatch and build the perfect black. So to get the black solid, it's about getting in at the right depth and then having the needle go across in all different directions. So it's not just one way, it's all different directions to get it nice and solid black. But I'm wanting some blends here as well, which is ideal for the cross hatching. So solid black where I want it solid black, and then as it comes and there's blended bits, just kind of flick it out. I mean, it is down to just preference, the colouring in. Some people like doing it in like little circles. But I'm going to get these big areas of black done kind of all throughout, and then I want to be getting onto the rose on the next part. What really helps to know where the black is, if you print off a picture that's like so light, this one's quite obvious, but if you're struggling to see what's the dark grey and what's the black, you can just like up the brightness so much when you print it out, and it'll just show you where the solid bits of black are. But what I'm doing is I make sure I'm putting them black bits in and I'm fading it out, because on this leaf, for example, this side's a really dark grey, that side's solid black. So it's just knowing the difference. And if these videos are helping you, or you're learning something from it, please give us a like or subscribe, or at least share it to people, as that's the only way that it helps me make more videos. And if there's anything that you want to see or me record, let me know in the comments. You'll probably notice that I haven't wiped it that much either. I'm kind of just dabbing it away, and that's mainly to keep the stencil on when I'm doing like the black areas. If I wipe it, the stencil will just come right off. So I try and leave it as long as possible, and I tend not to wipe it that much anyways, to be honest. I'll mainly dab away at the Vaseline, and that it doesn't irritate the skin as much either. So obviously the less that I wipe it and stuff like that, and also it waters down the blacks, I noticed as I do it. Now this is just my way of doing it. and I've noticed, yeah, them differences, it works better for me. But you see a lot of people and they'll just like wipe away, and I don't think that's any good. Right, we're back after a little break, and we're doing the shades now with a mag. So straight in from the black, and I'm just, for the leaves I'm going between the dark and the extra dark mainly at the moment, because the leaves are quite dark, and I'm just peppering it kind of one way and the other, so cross hatching to build it up. This is a really fun part because I can go into where I've already done with the blacks and I can fade it out and add the shades. And then once I've got these bigger areas in, I can then go in with the round shader and get some nice detailed parts. But you can see already this leaf starting to come to life and look a lot better. But I think the main part with the realistic shades, and what I'm doing here is the cross hatching and building up them layers. As if you rub it, it'll just go red. So ideally, the less trauma I can cause to the skin, the better it'll look, the better it'll heal, and the less red it'll look as well. And I get that by just going one way, dabbing it, and then the other way. And you can see here I'm not wiping it overly much, I don't need to at the moment. I can see exactly where I am. Right, so now that we're onto the shades, I'm going to put a couple of the big areas into the rose, and then all the finer details that we're going to do in here I'm going to do with the round shader, and then quite a lot of that will be the round shader. But while I'm using the mag and I've put in some of the big areas of shade and they're all the correct shades now, I'm going to do the same for the top. So I'm going to get the rose in. So I'm going to start off with just the medium and put a couple of these areas in, and then go from there. So literally just one way across. Dab it. And then the other way. And if you try and get a couple of different directions to do it, and start off quite light, and then the more confident you get in how the skin reacts depending on how deep you go with it and how fast, obviously. You're not trying to get it right up into the corners, you're just trying to get the shade accurate. So that isn't quite as dark as how I want it at the moment, but that's one of the areas. I've got the first layer, so I'm going to let that, see what the skin does. It might swell a little bit, it might just go red and then settle in, but I'm going to move on and get a couple of areas, then I can come back and then see how it's going from there. So this one's quite a bit darker, so rather than the medium, I'm going to go in with the dark. So all these shades, with the medium I could get it nearly to black, you know, so there's quite a bit of give with the shades. So the dark, I could build that up to being a black. If it's an awkward area, sometimes I won't even use the black, I'll use the extra dark because it goes in really nice, and it's all watered down from the black, so it technically is black, it's just, you know, a slight bit watered down, so it goes in nice anyway, so you don't need to worry. So then I'm going to move on to the light. I'm going to put this undershade in. Now this bit's all quite light, to be honest, so I want the first pass being under here, and this is a really clever trick to make it smooth and one tone lighter. So if I'm going over this bit here just with a light, then what I do is I'll go over the whole lot, and that bit will just get slightly darker every time I go over. So it's all about layers. So what I'm not going to do is like shade that bit then fade it out. I'm gonna just pass this just one more time than the rest. And that's a good little trick to get it slightly darker. Now if you can see already, this is red, this is grey. I don't know if you can see that as well as I can see it on the camera, but that's gone grey already and settled in nice. That's getting there, and that's fresh, little bit of blood, and it's red. So doing it this way and cross hatching, it eventually settles and it's nice. Kind of like these bits down here, there's a little bit of redness in the background, but you know, once we're done, this will all settle in really nice. And it's a good way to work upon your shades more and more to build it up. That's what I'm kind of focusing on as well, is building the shades up. The better I get, the better I am at working the skin and building the layers up. So I'm going to get a bit more done now that you know what I'm doing. I'll get a little bit more done and then resume when I'm on to the next part. Right, this is the bit that should make all the difference. I've now got the round shader, and like what I've just done with the mag on the big sections, cross hatching, I'm going to now do with the round shader. And I'm just going to put in a lot of the parts, the correct shades, and then I can go in and get the corners, but I'm not worrying about that at the moment. I'm more just trying to get the whole thing on to look good, then I can really tighten it up at the end. So it's like a step by step. So if you look back at the video, there's very plain steps as to how this is done. So there's bits down here that I'm going to do with the round shader as well, but not at the moment. I just want the whole thing on. And you can see it's settling in now. This is quite hard to get a good technique for. I'd suggest the fake skin, or just really small pieces until you're really confident to do this on larger pieces, because it's so easy to overwork the skin with a round shader. My tips would be is just having it really light on the surface of the skin. Now I'm using a medium at the moment, a medium shade, and like a lot of people would wonder why I wouldn't just use a mag for the whole thing, or a smaller mag. Now these just seem a lot more accurate, and I like drawing with like a ballpoint pen, and this seems very similar. And the lines back and forward, it seems to settle in and heal perfect. And when you do want to go into the corners, like down here, you can almost just have it that little bit harder, and then softer to get lighter shades. So it's really good for like an all-round kind of thing. So as well as going back and forth, I can just get right up to these little edges So this bit we're doing now is a very slow process, so you can watch me do a bit of it and then I'll skip through the boring part and come back when it's a little bit more put together, because literally I am doing the same technique for the whole top of the rose. Now I've got the needle quite far out, a lot further than the mag. You can't quite see how much, but yeah, you can see it there. So not out really far, just probably halfway to fully winding out. I mean, with some parts you'll literally feel like it's not doing anything at all, but every slight little mark will be there when it's healed, and that's especially with a round shader. So if you're not quite sure, move on to the next part and then just see how it is in a while. Because these shades that I'm using are mixed from black, every little bit will be there. And that technique that I did before, just under here, I'm doing the same thing in other areas with the round shader. So I'm getting two corners here. So there and there. Then I'm going over the whole lot. And that'll give me a nice blend from like medium to light to medium, without me having to like fade in and out and in. Makes it a lot easier. I'm still only using the medium. But to be honest, I could use the medium, light or dark at the moment, because I am cross hatching. To be honest, I can't really tell that much. It doesn't matter too much. I could probably do the whole thing with the black, to be honest, in this style. It makes it really easier. The more accurate you are with the shades, the cross hatching, the better it heals. So this bit, this darker section, I am going to use the extra dark. Like I say, if there's any questions, ask away in the comments. I do try and get back to people when I can. There'll definitely be a reply at some point. And if this is helping you, like and subscribe. And then also, if there's anything that's helped you, I'm always interested in hearing different techniques and how other people work. So yeah, write down whatever in the comments. It'll be great to connect with people. So we're still on the same volts here, 7 volts, everything's the same. The process is quite simple. I'm not doing anything different apart from using them same techniques what I said and tightening up the corners. So this last bit, what we're on about, now that it's settled, I'm going over, doing the same thing again, and I'm just building up and cross hatching until it's perfect. I think that's the key with making something realistic, is building it up and getting it nice and sharp and neat. I think the more that you rub and rush, then that's when they don't look great. You don't know what they're going to heal like. Like this rose isn't too big, you could probably do it in 2 hours or you could do it in 6 hours. You know, like the more time, my aim, the better you get at tattooing, the more you'll be able to work the skin and the more you'll be able to build it up and get it amazing. So that's what I'm trying to do here. It's just getting that right balance, not overworking the skin. And I finally feel like with these shades and everything, I've got the technique down, I've got the process. And I think that's the really important part, is like building a process that you do every time, then you know exactly how it's going to heal. You know the blacks are in solid, they're going to heal black. But yeah, that's my advice on that bit, and I'm going to carry on doing this bit and build it up, and then I'll get back to you when I've got a little bit more on. Right, now that we're quite far along with the shades on the top of the rose, so I've used the round shader for all of that cross hatching process. I've still got the last little bits to do, and then bits to do in these parts. So I'm kind of using like the darks and the mediums now, and just getting like the details and the nice little blends, just kind of getting to the edges. And I've got the rose picture right next to me, and then I can see and just get the details in and just be really picky. So what I also do is, like, depending on the way that the shade is, I'll follow it round with the needle. So if bits are curling round, like this bit here, I'll follow it with the needle. But I'm still just like skimming across the surface. I really want this to look nice and white when it's healed. So I'm trying to keep the contrast as much as I can and more focus on getting the edges and the blacks and the little creases and corners in now. So I definitely don't want to go darker in areas, I want to go darker on the corners and the contrast. I really like these little veiny parts that are here on the rose as well, so I want to get them in. It's quite fun trying to get all these little textures. So I'm starting off with the round shader, but then I might end up using the liner to try and get these as well. And for me, these little textures, I guess I'm just dabbing the needle how I think they are on the picture. So I'm not trying to get it so accurate, it's more an illusion to create that. And obviously the skin is different to a picture, so you've got to kind of create that effect more than anything. Yeah, I'll let that settle. And I'm kind of just doing little bits with what needle I've got out. So with the round shader, I'm going to get any bits of detail that I can and edges to make it look better. It's nice because I've been looking at these bits for ages. I'm like excited to do these little tiny details. But that's why it's nice having like an order in the way that you tattoo it as well. So by sticking to this order, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle and you're just doing sections at a time, and eventually it will come together. And when it's at this stage here, you can finally see it and have fun with it, and it's not so much a stress anymore. So my plan now is get some details with the round shader, and then details with the liner, and then finish off with some little white highlights. Right, let's give it a little wipe and see how it's looking, and then I can see what's left to do. I'm probably just going to put some final details in with a liner, and then just kind of pick at any bits now. Yeah, I've got some little details left in here, sharpening up some bits, a little bit at the bottom. So I'll grab that and then we'll put some nice highlights in. Right, let's have some fun putting some details in. So what I was doing before with the round shader, I can really go in, get some nice edges on parts. And what I've been like building up all day, I can finally finish off bits and just get it more strong as a tattoo as well, like when it's like this. I can pick and choose which bits I want dark. I feel like I have to be so careful when I'm using this liner. The round shader is bad enough to leave marks, and the liner is like, yeah, each little tiny bit could leave a mark. So it's like, hold your breath and do it really accurate. But each little tiny bit we do in detail, it looks way better. Here we go, some white highlights to finish. So same again, I've got dynamic triple white, it's called. I've never really noticed much of a difference with the whites, to be fair, so I only use it little bits here and there. And I'm using 5-round liner, same as before. But with this, it's not just highlights that I'm actually going to be doing. The highlights are going to be cool, but with little bits like this, you can get some really nice parts on like the light effects as well. Because I think if you just put bold white highlights in, it's going to look cartoony. So it's not just about that. So on the picture, there's little shines. So what I'm doing is just cross-hatching over little lines. And this just mixes with the ink that's already in the skin and just turns it a little bit more grey. And what that does is this black that's gone across the shadow, it makes that look more like a shadow. To be fair, this white is going in really nice. So I've not noticed a difference with the white ink until right now. But yeah, this one is really good. But in all honesty, I can't remember what the other whites are like, so it might just be good skin for taking the white. So hopefully these little creases that we put in before, I don't know what we call it, like little veiny bits on the rose. I'm going to now try and get some little bits in with the white and see if that stays as well. I don't want it too prominent though, it would look pretty weird if it was too prominent. Oh, that is perfect. So this nice little bit here where there's a shade going down, I just want a flick of white on this side of it, and you can see there it just really separates that shade and gives it like a shine of light. I've seen quite a lot of people doing the white in little dots and lines, and that's kind of like more what I do now since I've seen that little trick, because it stays in a lot more. So like stipple it in and put it in little dots. I just find it looks a hell of a lot better. So the bits of white that I am putting in, I'm putting it in like really confident and quite harsh. Probably. And there we have it. We are all done. I feel like that white highlights made such a nice difference. But yeah, there we have it. If this video has helped you, please drop us a like and subscribe, or share it to someone it might help, and support the channel. But yeah, tune in for probably the next video where I'll go on from this, and maybe I might do a touch-up video when it's all healed. I'll see how it looks when it's healed and then go from there. But I feel like that would be a cool video. But yeah, thanks for watching.